I think there's almost something more psychotic about always talking to each other in an even-tempered thing.
Yeah,
because you have something bubbling so under the surface that one day you're going to kill me in my sleep.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Guys We Fcked.
It's the Anti-Slut Shaming Podcast. I'm Corinne Fisher.
I'm Krystyna Hutchinson.
Welcome to the show. If you want to see us live in New York City, you're going to head over to the Linktree links in our bios on Instagram or the Guys We Instagram, and you are going to click on it, and then you're going to go purchase tickets to the Midnight Theater October 19th, which is a Thursday. Shows at 9:30 p.m. We've already started moving tickets pretty quickly, so make sure to get on it because these live shows are so fun.
They're so fun.
Mikey Coscarelli will be there.
That's right.
You can participate.
It's so fun.
And there's 2 ticket levels. So if you want to be in the front, it's like $10 more. You can participate. Or if you want to say, keep me the away from these ladies. They're out of their minds. Yeah. Still good seats in the back of the theater.
Absolutely.
And we hope to see you there. If you want to email us, it's sorryaboutlastnightshow@gmail.com. This first subject line says, I don't want to be an abuser anymore. Amazing. Good work.
That's a good place to start.
It's going to be a good fall for you.
Yeah.
Hi, I am a 29-year-old woman married to a 29-year-old man, and I have deep anger management issues. To preface this, I'm actively seeking help and have been for the past few years.
Nice.
This actually makes it extremely difficult to recognize my toxic behavior and allow it to bubble over and not feel like the absolute worst piece of almost instantaneously. Like, why the should I get the right to wallow? Right. Anyways, I have some clinically diagnosed mental issues, and I find it pathetic that I almost always want to use that as a crutch, but I can't. I can't bear the thought of hurting the ones I've loved, but I have, and living with it is the hardest part of myself to accept.
Yeah, we got to accept all the parts of ourselves.
I've grown and matured from throwing pots and pans in the street and destroying entire rooms of furniture and walls, late teens, early 20s, but I still managed to let the heat of anger overtake my entire being to the point of self-destruction, as well as physically lashing out on my husband twice in 3 years. The inner workings of our relationship and our individual past trauma therapy has followed us to give us the space to try and work it out. But the self-doubt of, am I doing this for the right reason, inevitably rears its ugly head into the forefront of my thoughts, and I begin to feel like a manipulator. My parents were in an abusive relationship, and it makes me sick to think I will recycle this horrible coping mechanism. I'll cut myself off for now because it's feeling narcissistic. I don't really know why I am writing in this intimate part of myself, but maybe I'm putting my true intentions into the universe to manifest a better outcome. I wanted to write in some perspective from a fucked up brain. I hope it makes sense and opens up some dialogue. P.S. I don't excuse domestic violence and I'm not an apologist. What our family looks like most of the time. And then she included photos.
That's very cute. Yeah, I like this email a lot because there's a lot of people that are violent towards their partners and towards just objects in their home. And we always hear from the person on the receiving end of the pot being thrown. So I feel like we can understand the trouble and trauma around that. And it's like with sexual assault. Like we hear all the time from people who are sexually assaulted, and I feel like we have a pretty good understanding of like what happens to your psyche. But it's like, what about the person doing the thing? Like, what's going on there? Because that's really where you make some headway.
Yeah. I mean, because I'm like, I guess you're not really looking for advice. Obviously, like you're working on it. That's incredible. I would be interested. I mean, obviously, like part of it stopping is you getting to the root of why you feel so angry. I'm guessing childhood, things in your everyday life, it seems like pretty deep rooted anger. Anger is an interesting one for me because I based on my personality, I think a lot of people would think I'm pretty angry. I'm actually like very rarely angry. I'm very angry about like world issues, but like in my personal like sphere, I don't really feel angry very often. I feel sad. My sadness replaces anger pretty much consistently. I know you feel anger a lot more.
Anger and sadness. It sucks to have your anger. There's so much shame attached to anger that results in childlike behavior, like tantrums and stuff. Like you've seen me throwing tantrums, like literally throwing something on the floor like a toddler. It's so embarrassing doing it, but you feel like your body's on fire and you don't know how to like regulate. It's all about like learning. I imagine I've never taken anger management classes, but the trauma therapy that I've done is all about grounding your body and really feeling your feet on the floor and like feeling the stillness and a calmness like kind of going through your body in an energy field. And that's really the only way to take it out. But anger is, it's so frustrating because when you feel it come on and you try to repress it, it makes it worse. When you try to be like, I'm just like road rage. I get road rage pretty bad. And the other day, this guy, people drive like such twats in New York City. And so on a good day, I'm like, all right, Krystyna, we're not going to get mad. We're just going to see this as an opportunity to be patient. And I do, and I really do, and it's really valuable. It's very nice. It's like a nice little like nervous system exercise. And then other times, somebody will drive like a twat, and they'll just cut me off like a piece of hole with no blinker and expect me to move. Like it's so annoying. And then so the other day, I rolled down my window. I was like, I'm going to yell something at you, and let's try something new. So I rolled down my window and I said, I hope you get everything you ever want in life. And honestly, totally dissolved the anger because I was like, that's hilarious to yell that. Like you want the person to die.
Do they have a confused look on their face?
No, they just flicked me off. They couldn't hear me.
Oh, right. But you knew what you were saying.
Yeah, it was for me. It was for me to like, I'm like, what the can dissipate this anger immediately?
Yeah.
There's not much, but laughter can do it. I just have to, sometimes if someone tries to make me laugh when I'm mad, I get more mad. But it's anger is a wild thing.
Yeah. Well, also, when you talk to therapists, I don't know the specific language, but like basically in a nutshell, anger is not a core emotion. It's like a masking emotion almost.
Yeah. So it definitely masks like sadness for sure. It's like a little wall. It's a very protective wall, and anger is very energizing. It's very energetic, and I like going fast. I like being energized. I don't I hate being tired. I hate being tired for some reason. I have a real big problem with being tired, and anger keeps you awake. Simple as that.
Interesting.
There's a lot of benefits that aren't actually benefits, but I guess anger is always it masks sadness and it masks shame. I think it masks shame probably more.
It's interesting because my brother and I were talking a lot about like emotions and like how we show them like over the past couple of days. And we are always kind of very interested by people who throw things and stuff because like we were just not like if we had threw something in our house growing up, we would be in so much trouble. So like we never have done that in our lives because like it just since we were kids, it was never on the table.
Yeah.
It just like the thought never even crossed my mind because of the amount of trouble I would have been in doing that.
Yes. I saw my parents throw shit and scream at each other and slam doors. I would get in trouble for slamming doors, but then my parents would do it all the time. So I'm like, fuck you, you fucking hypocrites. Like it made me so angry how hypocritical they were.
Right.
They were, and my dad had such a wild, he doesn't anymore. I mean, I haven't talked to him in a while, but like, towards like my late 20s and 30s, his temper has dissolved. But when I was a kid, oh my God, that man's temper was scary. Like he would chase me around the house. I thought he was going to kill me.
Yeah.
And so I just witnessed it. So I'm like, oh, this is okay.
Right.
Like, it's just like, well, I guess this is how we deal with our feelings. We just throw and yell. But I don't like yelling. The yelling thing I don't like.
I don't mind yell. Like I'm very like I don't like love it all the time, but like I'm also not like I feel like there is a time and a place to yell. Like people like I don't. Like maybe not like in a professional setting. I'm not going to name names of people who do. I think you know who I'm talking about, but I do think that every now and then, like people who say like we never yell at each other. I'm like, well, I think in a relationship, like once in a blue moon, yeah,
It's passionate.
You need to yell at each other.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but every now and again, like, yeah, there's a fucking, like if you're there, I think there's almost something more psychotic about always talking to each other in an even tempered thing.
Yeah.
Because you have something, bubbling so under the surface that one day you're going to kill me in my sleep.
You're going to kill your wife in your sleep and you're going to go to a school and shoot it up. Like that's that thing.
Yeah, like because every now and then I'll like screaming argument with like a boyfriend, and I'll be like, well, we both feel better now.
It does sometimes feel good to yell.
Fine.
And it's you know what's about having anger issues like that. Especially, I mean, for the woman who wrote us this, like yours are pretty extreme, but it's like anger also is, it can be a good clue to like get somebody out of our lives or something. And it's like, it's so hard to decipher like what's healthy anger and what's like this really toxic anger. Like it sucks. Cause then you're like, can I just not feel angry? If every time I feel angry, does that mean I have to like do the floor exercise? But
no, like
sometimes anger is healthy.
There's if you like experienced an injustice or I mean, like, I think like if you never feel angry on behalf of yourself or like your friends and family, then there's also something
very
wrong.
angry about that.
Yeah. I definitely get like more angry about like people doing stuff to people I love than me. It's like me, whatever. It's going to take a lot to penetrate me because I don't really think much of, usually the people
Other
talking
people.
to me. Yeah. So it's kind of like a moot point really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for offering us that. Did I just burp into the microphone?
I liked it.
Okay. Well, I didn't. Sorry.
Masculine.
Coming out.
You know what? Yeah. It was like, when you go to talk and it just like air comes out? It was like that.
When I used to drink a lot of Starbucks hot chocolate with whipped cream, I mean, I don't know what they're putting in that, but it was burp city.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. That's why I had to stop drinking. I don't drink whipped cream from any of the like Starbucks.
Weird.
Because I think they're injecting it with air to get it fluffy. So you just have so much air in your system. And I said, no, we're not doing that anymore.
That's not comfortable. But yeah, I do appreciate this perspective from the person with the toxic anger. And people can fucking change. I really believe that. You really can. A lot of people do not want to. They just don't want to. And so somebody who doesn't want to change, abort the mission. Somebody who is interested in changing, there is hope. So that's nice to hear from somebody with these like toxic traits that is doing the work to dive in. It sucks to look at the ugly parts to yourself, man.
Yeah,
it sucks.
And it looks like she has a kid, and I feel like it's hopefully like you try to shield your kid from that as much as possible. You like not that like. I think there is value in your child seeing something, you work on something and resolve it. But also like, I think, it's hard to understand anger and what it's coming from. And it just feels like wild. Like even like my dog, even dogs are scared of anger, know?
Oh yes.
So,
when I was in my like year of basically disassociating mentally, Kevin was the worst part of there's a lot of worst parts, but one of them was like, Kevin was scared of me and I was like, I'm a monster.
Yeah.
And that took a lot of work to not feel bad for myself and just go deeper into the swamp.
Dogs also have a pretty short-term memory.
Thank God.
As far as that kind of stuff is concerned, I think.
Yeah.
Although they do hold trauma, but like those.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely feel safe with me.
Rescue dogs. You can always see like they can definitely come around faster than a human.
Yeah.
So.
Guys, we're going on the road. We're going to be, after you buy your ticket to see us in New York City on October 19th, I'm going to be in the following cities: Springville, Utah, October 20th and 21st, Bridgeport, Connecticut, November 2nd through 4th. I actually might be moving that one. I think the club fucked up on that one.
What club is that?
Stress Factory.
Oh, okay.
But they gave me like the wrong room, and so that might be moved. But what's not going to be moved is Chicago, November 10th and 11th. And Nashville, Tennessee, November 12th, one night only. And then Springfield, Missouri, November 16th through the 18th. I'm very excited to go to these cities. And you can get those tickets at KrystynaHutchinson.com or go follow me on social media at Krystyna Hutch. It's in the Linktree link. Actually, that's where it is more than my website. I got to put them on my website, which I'll do maybe later. And then if you go to patreon.com/Krystyna Hutchinson, once a week, I host group therapy. That's what I'm calling it now, because I'm not a licensed therapist. And it's really a lovely space. And there's a lot of guys. I fucking love that. There's a lot of dudes in it. And I'm like, and we talk about a lot of stuff. Like, talk about aliens. We talk about like sex work, like the benefits of hiring a sex worker when you like haven't had sex in a while. We talk about living with a disability and people fucking looking at you like you need help all the time. And you're just like this way to make another person feel better, which is so fucked up. We talk about
you should actively avoid people with a disability. That's what I do.
Just ignore
just to let everyone know I'm a great person.
Ooh.
I go, everyone's equal.
Yes. Yes.
I run past a person in a wheelchair.
Yeah. We've talked about feeling suicidal, what to do about it. We've talked about getting over somebody, getting under somebody. It's just a lot. It's a really good space for about an hour a week. So you could sign up at patreon.com/Krystyna Hutchinson. And if you can't, I try to make it a different weekday every week just to give a little variety because everyone's schedule is so different. But if you can't make them, you can listen to the audio. It gets recorded and uploaded to the Patreon after each session. So Krystyna Hutchinson, patreon.com/Krystyna Hutchinson.
And for me, if you're making your calendar for 2024, look at you. You're really on top of it. Well, you could see me, Washington, D.C. I'm at the D.C. Comedy Loft, February 29th through March 2nd. That ticket link is already live. It's in the Linktree link in my bio on Instagram at philanthropygal. It's also on my website, CorinneFisher.com. And you can also listen to me on my weekly news podcast, Without a Country. A lot of people were messaging me about Russell Brand. Like, first of all, a lot of people were messaging me like, are you familiar with Russell Brand and have you heard of it? Guys, I don't know what? kind of how different you think America is from the UK, but we look
at the same
he wasn't like our king the way he was your king, but Russell Brand was
he UK's king?
Russell Brand is very famous here too. So I just want to make that clear. We're very clear on who Russell Brand is. I mean, he was married to one of our princesses of pop, but like get him to the Greek for getting Sarah Marshall. We know who Russell Brand is. Yeah. We're very familiar with who Russell Brand is. So, because people are like, I don't know if you're going to talk about it. Like, yes, we're talking about it. On last week's episode of Without a Country, I spent almost a whole episode going into the article from the Sunday Times that went into all the details of all his allegations. I am also going to watch the In Plain Sight Dispatches piece from Channel 4. Like all these things. Get that? You have to subscribe. You probably have to go behind a paywall, but it's on. It's online. Okay. But it was it was aired in the UK, and obviously I've been doing my now world famous rapist impressions and commentaries. So I got very deep into the Russell Brand thing. I think it was very interesting. And he's just, especially his personality, he's such like a specific type of guy, Yes. Oh, I'm a wellness guru. Are you? Okay.
You think he really calls himself that?
Oh, yeah. He's very into like the wellness space. Yeah, absolutely.
And stop raping, even though he was raping. All those assaults occurred when he was like, before he like reformed, right?
I mean, I don't believe that he did reform. I think that was a performative, but I mean, because he's one of those, this also goes hand in hand though with my thoughts on sex addiction, that I don't really believe it's a real thing. So, that's more of my own personal beliefs, but because I think he's a great example of why I don't think it's a real thing. I think it's an excuse to victimize yourself so you can keep abusing. But again, that's a longer conversation, and why I created the platform Without a Country, so I can talk for 2 hours straight about shit like this. And if you're not interested in that, you don't got to tune in, but we got a fun ass time. Also, I was on Fox News Saturday night this past weekend. I'll post the clip and everything if you're interested. This is part of I feel like my calling. I'm very into like this newscaster kind of thing, and Kat Timpf was hosting, who you've heard on the podcast. So I was on a panel with Jim Florentine, who's another comedian, and this man, Jonathan Morris, who is used to be a pastor. And we just had an interesting conversation. Obviously, we started with lighter topics, but I do think this really goes hand in hand with my theory of going to spaces where your voice will be heard because it's not the same voice that everyone's, talking in, kind of a thing. I know there's kind of been like a lot of discussion within the comedy community about people getting angry about comics going on Fox, especially like, liberal leaning comics like myself. But I, just from my background, I completely disagree with that. I think like more left leaning comics need to go on Fox, and I think infiltrate the system. And also, I really don't believe it's not like I think like angels are working at the desks on CNN. Half these companies are owned by the same fucking people anyway. But I think like if you have a point of view and you feel confident in talking, like go to a space where your voice will be heard. Again, this is just my approach to life, not everybody's. And there was one more thing that I wanted to say. I don't know what that was, but we'll get to it later. But yeah, those are my my thoughts for this week. So tune into Without a Country. There's a YouTube channel, there's an Instagram, and things have been popping there lately. So very proud of that show. All right, topics for this week. I see you have an Instagram.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. It kind of relates to a little bit of what we're talking about. But I love, we had her on the podcast because you follow her, Dr. Jess Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
She just has a lot of fucking interesting things to say that make me think about the way we word things so differently. And she talks about how like we really do people a disservice by like labeling them with these mental illnesses when really what we're looking at is like it's a response, which I always fucking thought. Like there's so many people that are narcissistic leaning, you know, not full blown narcissists, not full blown sociopaths, but they have these like tendencies. And I think borderline personality disorder, that's a response to something, but we're just saying like, oh, they're fucked up, or like they could turn on you, or bipolar disorder. It's like, I mean, so she has this post. It was a while ago, but I had saved it because I'm like, this is an interesting thing to just bring up. In psychiatry, there is no such thing as warmonger disorder, domestic abuser disorder, gaslighter disorder, emotional manipulator disorder, rapist disorder, child abuser disorder. I mean, pedophilia, you can say misogynist disorder, racist disorder, homophobe disorder, exploiting the poor disorder, polluting our rivers and seas disorder, forcing people to work until they die disorder, destroying communities disorder, causing civil unrest disorder, plunging people into poverty disorder, and forcing populations to live in fear disorder. But millions of people are diagnosed with anxiety disorder, depressive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, personality disorders, phobias, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Whew, got that one. Gender dysphoria disorder.
Is that just like, that's okay.
It's like PMDD.
Yeah,
it's just like a fucking extreme, feels like psychosis. Attention deficit disorder. What does that tell you? It's time to wake up, world. And so, yeah, it's just like, I really like her account because it really does. I'm always constantly searching for ways to think about the world differently because I do believe that like, I'm on this quest to genuinely feel this way, but like, I think I've said this before on the show, like the people that are the most fucked up, that are the most abusive, like they do need the biggest hug. And I don't want to give them that hug, but I don't know. I kind of have this like inkling in me to like really understand people who do awful things more so that it dissipates the rage I feel towards them. And so I've been kind of on this little mission with myself for a couple of years now. And now when people come to me, like a lot of friends have come to me lately with like, so-and-so is, you could say that they have narcissistic leaning tendencies and they're being like really emotionally abusive. And like gaslighting is such emotional abuse. It really, I would normally get really rageful when somebody would tell me about somebody doing this. I'm like, how the fuck could they act like this? And now what's happening is people are telling me about this and they don't want to tell me about it anymore because I like have sympathy for the person that is gaslighting. And I'm like, oh man, I just see when you tell me about this person, instead of like feeling anger and going, fuck them, I'm like, they're wounded. But the person telling me that doesn't.
So it's like an overcorrection.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll sway in the middle at one point, but I'm really interested in why fucked up people are fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's mostly because they just have like, unresolved issues pretty much 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what everything is like. That's why I love giving relationship advice to all my friends because, they always come, forward with like, what am I doing wrong? And I'm like, so little in relationships is about what the person thinks of you, and most of it is what the person thinks of themselves. And it's almost disappointing to learn that because it links back into a topic that we were talking about a lot several months ago, which is that like we are not special. Yep. It's really just like you're finding another person with which you will heal. Yeah. And you're like, when you think about it, you're like, no, that's kind of disappointing because if it's not me, but like, healing is cool.
Yeah, it is cool. But then you realize like, oh, I was with an abusive person because I needed that. Like I was trying to heal. Like the amount of healing that people try to do unconsciously in a romantic relationship specifically is wild. So it's like you would if 3 out of your last 4 partners were abusive towards you, what is it about you that likes that, or that is not likes, but is comfortable with that? Not to say that it's your fault, but it's like, how can we do some digging that's a little more uncomfortable?
Yeah, I think there's also a certain part of you, I mean, to say it in unsavory terms, that almost is making you pray for people who are abusive. I was actually having a conversation with someone who was like, she was asking me some questions because she was like, I actually don't trust my own instincts because I have been in such traumatic relationships in the past. And, of course that's not your fault, but I think, it's
you're the common denominator.
It's easy. You want to start exploring what is it about you that makes you,
okay with this, or like
a viable victim, as Slumflower, who I follow on Instagram, with very interesting conversations, was talking about. She was also talking about this concept that as you become more confident and you become more self-actualized as a woman, less men will approach you. And I mean, I've known this since a young age. Like I very rarely get approached by men. And I was always thinking, because I come off as intimidating, but when I saw this video yesterday, I was like, oh, it's actually, I was like, saying that you are not a viable victim and that's why less men approach you, because they can't pull their bullshit with you, is what took it to the next level. And I was like, what an interesting observation.
That is interesting. And I would walk around a lot. I used to think it's like, oh, do I not get hit on as much because I'm getting older? But it's like, I'm not old, and I look better than I did when I was younger. And it's fucking because I had this doughy, deer-eyed look in my head of like, will you save me? Yeah. Even though it wasn't like outwardly, but I was projecting that energetically 100%. Yeah. And I would get hit on all the time. And I'm like, wow, I'm like a hot bitch. But really, it's by these people that like didn't want to do anything real. Like didn't want like.
Well, that's why it's such a misconception. It's like we talked about this a million times, but like guys aren't dating younger women like solely because of like they have like a firmer body. Like it's just because
really doesn't have
it's easier.
Yeah. Yes.
That's why.
Yes.
And so when you figure that out, it's everything.
And I mean, dating a younger man, I would imagine is easier too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Once I did it, I was like, oh, I completely understand why people do this. But also you're getting a lot less of what you need emotionally. So you are sacrificing.
Yeah.
Whereas when a man dates a younger woman, they're kind of on the same level.
Yeah.
And just so she's at the Slumflower. It's a really great follow if you want for relationship advice. There's very few people who I honestly trust to follow with relationship advice, because most people are giving out, I think, pretty jacked up, stupid advice. And then my question for this week is, this was like circulating around, like I think TikTok. There's some kind of, healer or in quotes therapist who likes to ask his clients this, but I thought it was an interesting question nonetheless. The question is, and Mike, this is for you as well. And he says he likes to ask this to people because it tells you a lot about their core values. If you were stuck in an eternal loop of doing one thing, like not like an action, not like, nailing a nail. No, not like nailing a nail, but like one experience that you had to continually experience for the rest of eternity. And you could only do this one thing for the rest of your life. What thing would you choose?
An experience. So it was more feelings based. Like
it could be,
falling in love.
I think that could be,
that would be the best thing ever.
I think that could be a passable. That seems like maybe like a longer experience than, but I mean, again, this is like, I think it's like whatever comes to you first. Cause mine came to me so quickly. Mine was spending time with Alfred, like no questions asked, like 100%.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like very, I was like, cause I kind of just always go with like what comes to me first. It's like, chilling with Alfred. Like that's what's the one thing I would want to do for the rest of my life? Because I just thought of really quickly,
definitely falling in love.
What are my great passions in life? Comedy, whatever. I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that for eternally on a loop. I wouldn't want to be on a stage doing stand up on an eternal loop. That doesn't sound great.
It's like a nightmare.
Yeah. So I was like, playing with Alfred, hanging out with Alfred. What would be yours, Mike?
Absolutely. It would be playing baseball.
Oh,
100%.
You'd be so fucking jacked.
Yeah. And tired.
It's just like I got on a softball team this summer, and it was one of the first years I did that. where I was like, I actively seeked out like an adult league
Yeah.
with strangers or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just a blast. We play every Saturday.
That's
and
awesome.
It brought me back to being a kid. And like you said, I think that there were like, I did think for a second about other artistic things that I do, that I like to do.
Yeah.
But there is a torturous element to, because I was, right?
is there?
Sure.
Like
Yeah,
I just,
100%.
I thought about it. I was like, would I want to be in a room writing for the rest of my life? Or
Nope.
and I was like, I don't know. But when I'm on a baseball field, when I'm at first base and I'm just, like waiting for the action to happen, I feel so
Alive.
good. Yeah.
Good.
It's just like, I'm very
You're grinning.
happy.
You're grinning
that-
Yeah,
right now.
I love it. I loved playing baseball as a kid. I miss it. And it's one of the only things that I haven't been able to do since I like aged out of it. After high school, it's not like basketball.
Yeah.
You need 18 people to
Yeah.
play a baseball game.
That's a lot.
You can't just like go and
Yeah.
shoot hoops or whatever.
You could just play toss, but that's it. Play
Yeah.
catch, but that's it. Yeah.
Oh my
So-
God. Wait, if you're ever in California, my friend Jonesy, he plays on this baseball team, where they dress up in old timey outfits.
That's
and
awesome.
They do a
so
whole,
fun.
I would totally do
he
that.
showed me the uniforms. They're so cute. It's like 1800s style.
great.
Like some guy approached him because Jonesy does plays a lot of sports too
Yeah.
in, chill leagues. And he showed me the uniform and I was like, this is cute. Like the refs do it too.
Yeah.
And he's like, people go and watch it. Like it just seemed
Awesome.
it just seemed so cool. He was
Yeah,
telling
yeah.
us about it and we're like, oh my God. Yeah.
I would totally do that. That
Yeah,
sounds like
yeah,
it'd be a
yeah.
complete blast.
I don't know how well that fabric breathes, but
Not very well, I would think.
But
Yeah.
you feel so cool.
everyone looks so handsome in the uniforms.
That's awesome.
like old timey mustaches and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that's
I like
cute.
that.
I love it. I
would do
love
that.
it.
Fucking cute.
Oh my gosh.
I read the other thing I wanted to say was I didn't realize until now, but one of the books I always have like a bunch of self-help books kind of like playing at some points like during my day when I'm driving, and one of them was like, this really caught my eye, and I'm like, it's really helpful because we all have addictions to something, right? Approval, a drug, whatever the fuck it is, likes on Instagram, whatever, and most of us have multiple addictions. And this author was like, you can't, the energy of addiction is really powerful and really potent. Instead of trying to like suppress it, get addicted to good shit. Like get addicted to healthy shit. And I've been getting addicted to like eating well and like making sure I'm meticulous. Like I'm on all these, I was seeing like an herbalist and I'm taking all this stuff, but I'm like really addicted to like fucking figuring out my eating. I'm like, oh shit, wish someone fucking told me this years ago.
Well, is this author saying that it's like actually like clinical addiction, that we are all clinically addicted to something?
Yeah, I don't know that he used the word clinical. But this Carter Stout book, I love, one of my favorite books on addiction that I've read so far. It's called We Are All Addicts. Talks about an addiction is something that we kind of do on a loop. That we're like a lot of times you don't even know you're doing it. Like when you fucking, I hate when I do this. When you close in the Instagram app
open it
and then you just
immediately.
open it 10.1 seconds later, you're like, what the fuck?
That's stupid,
Obviously,
yeah.
there's a team of engineers on Instagram getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to make you do that.
Sure.
But it's fucking frustrating nonetheless.
You're
And
doing
so-
a great job, guys.
Yeah, honestly, salary well earned.
Nailing it.
Yeah, you're ruining our society. Thank you. But yeah, so I'm just trying to channel that energy because it is like, and I'm getting addicted to playing drums. I'm fucking going to the drum studio like 4 days a week.
I know you got to bring the drum kit here, do a little debut on the show. I want to hear it.
I'm pretty good. I can do Heart Shaped Box as the only girl song that's like, doable for a beginner. But I am obsessed. I'm like, let's get addicted to drums. And I go there for 2 hours and I fucking, it's so good. Talk about anger. Shit, bang a drum, baby. That's
Now-
primal.
Question: is this like purely hobby? Are you thinking of like using this in a greater sense? What inspired you to do this?
When I rollerblade a lot, and I always like when I listen to music, I just fucking air drum, and I'm like, I think you want to drum. Like,
Yeah.
I think you really want to drum, Krystyna.
My hands won't stop.
Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, I think you could be good at drumming. And I've been taking lessons for 6 months. And it's weird. I've never had a skill like this. I'm good at it and I do not have to try. I've never had a skill like that.
You're naturally musically inclined.
Yeah.
Singing, piano, yeah.
Yeah. But like piano takes practice. But like drums, I'll do these drum patterns and I'm like graduating to each new pattern. And I'm like, I didn't even fucking rehearse this. And I'm
It's
nailing
just
it.
rhythm. Like if you have rhythm, you can learn how to be a drummer.
Rhythm
I guess
is a
so.
dancer.
I didn't think I had a lot of rhythm, to be honest. But I'll as I'm doing these drum patterns in the lesson, I'll be like, my brain is not thinking of what I'm doing, but I'm literally, it's like I'm witnessing myself nail it, and I'm like, whoa, how am I doing this?
That means you have rhythm, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, do you drum too?
I mean, like I can. Christina's probably tighter than I am at this point,
pretty
but I can
good.
play. I mean, I grew up doing music stuff, so I mean, like
the coolest
Yeah.
is singing when you drum. So there is.
Well, that's very
No, I do that.
You do
I
it?
I sing Heart Shaped Box, and
Yeah.
I fucking drum the whole thing. I sing the whole thing. And it's so much fun because it's a 5-way independence. So every limb in your body is doing something
Yeah.
different, and your voice. So it's so. And my drum teacher was like, I think the only Sheila E. and Karen
Yeah.
Carpenter.
I was gonna say, Karen
Carpenter,
Carpenter was
yeah,
rated
yeah.
like the best
She
drummer
was
of
a
all
bad bitch on
time.
the drums.
When she was 19
Yep.
years
Which is
old.
so sick. I'm
Playboy
like,
magazine.
yes.
Dude, that woman is the most insane drummer, and I did not know
great.
that until last summer.
Yep.
I'm like, how the fuck did I go this long without knowing Karen Carpenter was one of the greatest drummers of all time?
Yeah.
Drumming is so cool. It's
The drummer's
so
always
fun.
the coolest
Playing
member
music-
of the band.
Yeah.
It's just fucking banging on shit in a rhythm is just so
I always love the
cathartic.
drummer. The drummers also usually don't talk a lot, which
Yeah.
in real life, which I
Because they're
love.
relaxed. Because drumming is a lot of fucking
They're busy
work.
drumming, yeah.
Yeah.
It is a lot of fun playing
when
music
you're-
in general. When you start cooking,
When you're
like,
in a pocket
Yeah.
and you're fucking going, like I was playing like the verse of Heart Shaped Box because I was trying to do. This is getting real nerdy, but I had my metronome to 100 BPM,
Yeah.
which is a hard rhythm to play. For some reason, 100 is
Fast.
hard. It's like dun dun or something. And anyway, I kept going too fast, and I was fucking. Ugh. And then I did it for 2 hours. I just played the verse 100 BPM, and I didn't realize it was 2 hours straight. And I'm like, holy shit, this channeling your addictive energy towards like cool stuff is the way to go. Like
Yeah.
I want everybody to know that if you are addicted to, obviously there's a lot of chemical addictions that like you need like rehab and a medical team.
Well, that's why every recovering alcoholic I know loves fitness, you know?
Yeah.
It's like-
You gotta get into something.
I mean, I can list off the top of my head 10 comics who quit drinking and all of a sudden are gym bunnies now.
Yeah.
Oh, they have calf muscles.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I've been lifting a lot of weights in my apartment. But yeah, get addicted to good stuff.
Just recalibrate yourself.
Yeah,
All
you're
right.
addicted to like success.
Yeah, but
and productivity.
I'm just but I'm like I was just curious about like how they were defining that because it's
It
not
shouldn't ruin your life.
It's not addicted in like, oh, I can't like do
Like I miss
something else
appointments.
or like yeah. I'm like it's not in the same sense as a substance.
It's like you're
abuse.
taking
like
the-
I can still like take a break.
Yeah, and you're taking the toxic traits out of a lot of people's like toxic addictions to a substance or sex or approval of men or whatever the fuck, a person, whatever it is. Take the toxic parts of that addiction out, but like really just channel that. It's just fucking laser focus.
Yeah, because
it's fun to laser focus.
Also, when I think about addiction, when it becomes true addiction or problematic addiction, to me, that's also defined as when the joy is stripped from it, right?
Oh, yeah,
And
for sure.
So for me, most of my main joy is from like achieving things. There is
Succeeding,
the only time it's stripped of joy is when other people try to tell me to relax and take a break, and I go, sounds like you're trying to distract me from
From a fucking
from
goal.
achieving more stuff, and I don't like that. So maybe you mind your own fucking business.
So funny.
Oh my god.
Speaking of minding your own fucking business.
That's not what today's guest
That's
do.
not what we're going to do today. We are going to be right up in their business. I got to say, this is one of my favorite interviews we've ever done because
women, yeah,
I
are great.
learned about myself and the world. And it was very cathartic to speak. They're not that much older than us, but like a woman that more closer to my mother's age that was like sane, grounded, like really like just
they exist.
That's always nice for me. But anyway, you're going to love this conversation. They're the stars of the Bravo TV show Sweet Home Oklahoma and the co-hosts of the podcast I've Had It. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome
Jennifer Welch and Angie Pumps Sullivan.